The Zohar on this week's parsha starts off, beginning of parsha Mishpatim, and says that these are Sidur and the gilgul. This is the order of reincarnation. And this, in fact, is the only place in the Zohar that we have on the Torah, that mentions this idea of gilgulim, of reincarnation of souls. So the Degel, Machne Ephraim, the grandson of the Baal Shem Tov, brings on a Torah. They says, Shamati, I heard. And it's clear, we'll see in a moment why it's clear. It's clear that this hearing, that he heard this Torah, this teaching, comes from the Baal Shem Tov. So the Zohar says, the verse that says that these are the Mishpatim, these are the laws, these are the civil laws they should place in front of them. This is the secret. This is the order of reincarnation. But the question is, where does reincarnation, where is it talked about? It doesn't say anything about reincarnation in the parsha. It just talks about civil laws, monetary issues. Shemaiti, so the grandson of the Baal Shem Tov, the Degel, says that I heard from my grandfather, or I heard that sometimes a person comes to court and they have a sichsuch, they have an argument with somebody, they come to court, they come to Bezdin, and they lose the court case. And this can extend to all issues, not only a court case. But let's say this is a court case, and according to the Torah there's a ruling, and the Torah says, the ruling of the court, the Bezdin, is that you owe this person money. And you know that it's absolutely incorrect. You don't owe the person money. It's 100% in your mind. It's 100% that you don't owe a penny to this person. And yet, what the evidence that was presented in front of the court, and according to the ruling of the Torah says you have to listen to the Bezdin and return money to this person. So how do you reconcile these two ideas? On the one hand, you know for sure what the emes is, what the truth is, that you don't owe this person any money. On the other hand, the Torah is telling you that you have to pay this person money. And the Torah is the Torah of emes, the Torah is the Torah of truth. So how do you reconcile these two ideas? And this is not only a question when there's an emes, there's a truth of the way you know it, and there's a truth the way the Torah is saying, but how about when there's a truth of the world? Let's say you lose money, or you're in a partnership with somebody, and the other person takes the money out of you, but you don't have enough evidence to prove it. So the truth of the reality is that you owe this money, but the truth of the way it are articulated in the world that Hashem created is that you lost the money. How do you reconcile these two ideas? So the Baal Shem Tov said, teaches like this. This is the secret of reincarnation. Sometimes, the reason why you lost the court case and you have to return money, even though you know that the emes is, the truth is that you don't owe money, is because in a past life you owe this other person money, and therefore you came back into this world to return the money to the original owner. So in other words, you were maybe a partner, Reuven and Shimon, these two characters. We were two partners in a previous life. Reuven owed Shimon money. Now Reuven and Shimon reincarnated into a new life. Let's just say their names are still Reuven and Shimon. And now Reuven has the money, has to return the money back to Shimon. Which means that there's a lot bigger cycling of life. It's not just individual. You can't look at your life at this individual situation. You have to look at the bigger picture. Then maybe the reason why you lost this money, or this money had to be returned, or why the Torah says that you have to return this money to the other person, even though you know that the emes says that you don't owe that person money, is because in a past life you did owe the money and you have to return the money. There's a story that was brought down, a story that's recorded in the name of the Maggid of Medrash. The Maggid was a student of the Baal Shem Tov, and the story goes as follows. This story, incidentally, is very similar to a story that is mentioned in an earlier Medrash, and the Medrash is quoted in Torah Shlema, Rav Kasha Sefer on Torah, in Parsha Mishpatim. He brings on this story from an older Medrash, but this story is repeated in the name that it actually occurred with the Maggid of Mezrich and the Baal Shem Tov. What's the story? The story is that the Maggid was learning this parsha, this portion of the Zohar on Parshas Mishpatim. And the Maggid came to his Rebbe, came to the Holy Baal Shem, and said, Rebbe, please explain me this secret. Please explain me the order of reincarnation. I don't understand it. So the Baal Shem Tov told him that what you have to do is go out to a certain field and sit down on one edge of the field and sit there for a few hours, and when evening falls, return back to me and I'll explain to you what you saw. But don't participate, don't get involved in what you see, be a complete objective observer of what you're seeing. And the Baal Shem Tov told him exactly where he should go. So the Maggid travels to this place, and he sits down at a distance, at the edge of the field. On the other edge of the field, hundreds of yards away, a few hundred yards away, there's a tree with a lot of leaves. And he sees that there's we'll call him person number one. Person number one is walking, and he has a stash. And a stash, you can see from a distance, is full of gold, jewelry, copper, money, and it looks like it's a lot of money, it's a lot of value, and it's tied to his body, which means that he's securing it very closely. He sees that this man takes off this belt, this stash, places it on the ground, and then lies down, puts his head over on the stash, and goes to sleep, takes a nap. The Baal Shem Tov told him he should just watch, so he's just watching. The man sleeps for a few minutes, and then gets up. And when he gets up, he notices the man is very discombobulated. Looks like he's a little bit confused. He gets up and he runs away, and he forgets the stash of his money in the place. Remember, the Baal Shem Tov told him he shouldn't do anything, just observe. So he's observing. A few minutes later, another fellow walks by. Person number two also walks by that tree. And he also sits down. And when he sits down, he notices that there's a stash of money with gold and jewelry and coins. He opens it up. He looks around. The Maggid sees that he's looking to see if there's an owner around, if anyone's present. There's no one there. It's an empty field. There's no indication who owns it. It's muish. The person definitely gave up on it. So he takes a stash. He ties it to his own body and walks away. A few minutes pass, and a third person comes by, also tired, also wants to take a nap by this tree. He lies down by the tree, and he's lying there, sleeping there peacefully. All of a sudden, he sees, this is person number three lying there. Person number one returns back to the tree, and he sees a man lying there, and he wakes the guy up and says, "Where's my money?" I says, "I don't know what you're talking about." He says, "I have a stash here with my entire life savings. I'm 50 years old. My entire life savings is in the stash. Where's my money?" He says, "I have no idea what you're speaking about. I just lie down here, and I don't know." And person number one loses it, because Adam Baal money. A person is very nervous about his money, and he sees that he lost his entire livelihood, and he beats the guy. He beats person number three. Number one beats number three, and he walks away in a half angry. Well, the Maggid is just observing this event. Later, the Maggid comes. Evening falls, and the Maggid returns to the Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov said, "You saw?" He said, "Yeah, I saw. I don't understand, but I saw." The Baal Shem Tov told him that what you saw is as follows. Person number one and person number two were partners in a previous life. And there was an argument. They were partners. At some point, the business went a little sour, and they decided to split. And there's an argument who owes what money. And person number one and person number two, the fair thing would have been done, should have been done, is everyone would have got 50-50, and they would split the partnership correctly. But person number one argued and said, "No, he did most of the work. I really owed money. I owed most of the money. I get all the money. You get no money." So they decide, okay, there's an argument, let's go to the rabbi, let's go to the bezin, let's go to the court to figure this out. They come to the court, and person number one is a very strong person. So because of that, the rabbi was weak, and without any drusha l'kir, without any searching to find out what the truth of the situation was, the rabbi said, person number one is correct. So therefore he takes all the money. So Baal Shem Tov said, therefore, person number one came to this world to return all his money to person number two. And who was person number three that got the beating from person number one? That was the rabbi. That was the bezin. This is the story from the Baal Shem Tov. So the story tells us is as follows. The reason why the Zohar talks and speech tells us that the laws of Mishpatim is connected to the laws of gilgul, to the spiritual principles of reincarnation, is as follows. Everything that happens in this world, certainly issues between Adam and Maggid, certain issues between man and God, but even issues between Adam and Chaver, there's possible if hurt or something else that happens between people, there's possible for a person to reach a type of tikkun after 120. After 120, a person has to go through a cleansing process in order to get to the state of Gan Eden, is monetary issues. If somebody owes money to somebody, or someone is owed money by somebody, if you don't forgive them for the money, or don't give them the money that is owed, or if you're owed, you don't forgive them of that money, that is a reason for reincarnation. This is not a regular course of reincarnation. It's not a regular form of gilgul. Because here the neshama is not coming down, the soul is not coming down for its perfection. It's not coming down to reach its maximum potential. The neshama is coming down to rectify something that was done in the past life. Monetary issues cannot be worked out in the spiritual realm, cannot be worked out in Gan Eden. It can only be worked out in this physical realm. So therefore it's very important when we think about our lives, besides our connection with Hashem, a person always has to think about these three elements of relationship between man and his creator, between man, and between man and himself. If you think about your life, you have to think about this question of, are these issues that are being resolved in my life? And especially if it's an issue that's a monetary issue, we have to make sure that we take care of it during this lifetime. If ever you have a sichsach, you have an argument with someone with money, make sure you're always doing the honest thing and the right thing. If you owed money or you owe money, make sure you return the money. If you're owed money and you can get the money out of the other person, the best thing will actually be to forgive the other person. And this is the spiritual realm of gilgul. This is why gilgulim, reincarnation, is specifically connected for tikkunim of our past life. It's specifically connected to monetary issues. And that's why many tzaddikim were very careful about this. Just because today is also Chav Beis Shvat, which is the yahrzeit of the Rebbetzin, the Lubavitcher Rebbetzin. So I remember the story happened very clearly that after the Rebbetzin passed away in Tavshin Ches, the Rebbe sent some of his gabbais, some of his people that were in charge of his home. They should walk to all the stores that the Rebbetzin used to buy food from, or clothes, whatever she bought from them, and make sure that everything's paid for, that there's no outstanding bills. If you're familiar with a little bit what happens in Brooklyn more, is a lot of times people order food or they order things and they keep it on a bill. And then once a month, once every 2 months, you pay up the bill. Besides the fact that it could be an issue if people don't know that you're paying, because it could be a machil Hashem, especially if you're a tzaddik or a talmid chacham. But the certainty of the idea is that to make sure that you don't owe any money, that you're clean, that your the issues with monetary issues, in order for the neshama to really have an elevation and to move forward in the afterlife without any reason to having to come back to do any tikkunim, is to make sure that all the issues with money issues we have to take care of. This is a very serious thing. So if we owe anyone money, we make sure we have to pay them back. And if we're owed any money and we think that we're right and we can't get the money out of the other person, to forgive them. And listen, if you're not going to get the money anyways, the only thing that you could do is to forgive them so we don't have to return to create tikkunim for our next life. And that's the soid. This is the reason why the secret of reincarnation is connected to the laws of Mishpatim, specifically monetary issues. Shabbos.